okay, is far beyond our expectation.
He's the safest way of owning a house.
My mouth is full of appreciation to Federal Mortgage Bank.
It's a pleasure to have you join us again on another edition of the program, Everyone Deserves a Home, your window into the activities of the Federal Mortgage Bank of Nigeria as it makes efforts towards ensuring the adequate provision of houses and mortgages for average Nigerians. I am your regular host, Zulaihat Belagobert, welcoming you to this episode of the program. Just recently, the board and management of the Federal Mortgage Bank of Nigeria gathered to have a retreat. The purpose was to brainstorm on strategies to reposition the bank for optimal performance. At that event, a new corporate statement for the FMBN was officially launched. In this episode of the program, we will bring you details of the retreat and some of the major issues discussed at the event. This alongside other regular segments like the news, Dream Come True, and Feedback complete our package. Stay tuned for details after this timeout. Welcome back. In our news diary tonight, Minister of Works and Housing calls on state governments to key into the National Housing Program for residents in their state. These and other stories coming up shortly. Don't go away.
The Minister of Works and Housing, Mr. Babatunde Fashola, SAN, has called on state governments to apply for houses under the National Housing Program on behalf of their residents and indigents. Fashola was speaking at the executive session of the 11th meeting of the National Council on Lands, Housing and Urban Development with the theme, Housing Our People by All of Government and All Our People. He explained that state governments could apply to fund the acquisition of parts of the national housing programs constructed in their states if they desired to do so, adding that after the acquisition, the state governments could allocate to interested residents and indigents. He noted that the bulk of housing in the society and across the world was delivered by the private sector, consisting of individuals and corporate bodies. Fashola also said that the private sector is capable of delivering much more than the federal and state governments. The minister acknowledged that there has been a visible increase in the participation of the private sector in Nigeria's housing sector, which he said must be encouraged. The federal government has financed the construction of about 6,000 housing units under the National Housing Program. These houses are at various stages of completion across the country. In a related development, the National Council on Lands, Housing and Urban Development has, amongst other resolutions, called on the government to recapitalize the Federal Mortgage Bank of Nigeria (FMBN) and build its capacity to the standard of similar world-class institutions. This will enable the bank take charge of housing development and finance, advocacy, compliance and mortgage guarantee. Others are securitization, training and capacity building, improvement of communities, energy efficiency, and drive positive growth in the overall economy. The Council made this call in a communique released at the end of its 11th meeting, which held recently. It also urged all states concerned to domesticate the national urban and regional planning laws in order to improve on the quality and sustainability of the environment. The board, management and staff of the Federal Mortgage Bank of Nigeria, FMBN, deeply commiserates with the family, relations and friends of late Professor Akin Mabogunje, who passed away on Thursday, 4th August 2022. During his time, late Professor Mabogunje served the bank meritoriously from 2002 to 2007 as the chairman, Presidential Technical Board (PTB), and under his tutelage, the bank was repositioned to play its strategic role as the foremost secondary mortgage institution in the country. No doubt, his absence will be felt greatly by the bank, housing industry stakeholders, and the country at large. While we deeply mourn the exit of this noble icon, we fervently pray that God in His infinite mercies will grant his soul eternal rest and accord the family the fortitude to bear this tragic loss. Signed, Management. Announcer, Management.
You are still watching Everyone Deserves a Home. Our Building Blocks segment this evening will bring you details of the two-day retreat held for the board and management of the Federal Mortgage Bank of Nigeria in Abuja. We see how the retreat went and some of the issues discussed at the retreat. Keep watching.
Yearly, the board and management of the Federal Mortgage Bank of Nigeria gathered together in a retreat to take stock of how much the bank has achieved and also look at prospects for coming years. From this retreat, the bank gets a headway and areas to focus energy on in its quest to provide excellent mortgage services to Nigerians. With a new board and management which came into office this year, there was need for a retreat also. The aim was to review and enhance the 5-year strategic plan of the bank for better performance. This year's retreat had the theme, Strategic Repositioning for Optimized Performance, and a sub-theme, Organizational Culture Change and Informal Sector Integration. Minister of Works and Housing Babatunde Fashola, who gave a keynote address at the event, mentioned that the core function of the FMBN is to provide optimum service to NHF contributors and urged the bank to provide services like a bank.
The intention in focusing on the core functions of the bank is to ensure optimum service to the real owners of the bank. You remember I talked about the promoter of the bank, that's the government. But there are some people who are the real owners of the bank, members of the public, the Nigerian people, especially those who contribute to the National Housing Fund. Those are the real owners of the bank, and we must not let them down. It is for them, really, that this bank exists. So this is a type of repositioning that the government envisions and welcomes. It is one that emphasizes the banking identity of the institution.
Chairman of the board, Mr. Ayodeji Gbeleyi, who gave the special address, gave the assurance of the intention of the new management to reposition the bank to function more effectively.
It is therefore the resolute intention of the current board and executive management to reposition the bank as an agile institution to enable it to function effectively as the country's apex wholesale mortgage provider within the confines of the law. This is its core mandate, and we shall be faithful in steering the bank towards that desired destination.
In his opening address, Managing Director, Federal Mortgage Bank of Nigeria, Moduhamman, highlighted that the COVID-19 pandemic, among other challenges, affected the full implementation of the 5-year strategic plan. He said, the review of the plan, therefore, is driven by 2 factors.
The need to recalibrate and refocus the strategy direction of the bank has been driven by 2 important factors. The first is the need to realign its strategic targets in the light of prevailing economic, financial, and social realities shaped by the shocks of the global pandemic and the conflicts. And the second is to reconfigure the strategy document to incorporate the vision and focus of the bank's new leadership in implementing Mr. President's mandate for affordable housing delivery to Nigerians, especially those in the low and medium income brackets.
Goodwill messages from key stakeholders were delivered. They applauded the bank for its strides as well as encouraged it to improve more.
The 6th National ESCO of Reading, which I preside, wish to state categorically that we shall work with the Federal Mortgage Bank of Nigeria for its progress in the effort to achieve its strategic plan in providing homes to Nigerians. We shall ensure that our members that have financial relationship with the banks live up to their terms of agreement and pay their loans.
For us in the subsector, we appreciate FMBN and we have been partners in progress together. And we do appreciate the fact that this strategic retreat will be able to show the real direction that the bank wants to pursue. The 5-year strategic blueprint, we believe, should, as a matter of intention, reposition FMBN as a secondary mortgage financial institution.
There's no health without mental health. Health is not merely the absence of disease or infirmity.
Papers were presented. Topics included mental health epidemic, the big effects of COVID-19, institutional turnaround for the next level, and a paper on data protection. High point of the retreat was the unveiling of a new corporate statement for the bank.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. To start with, I would like to...
Chairperson of the organizing committee shed more light on why it was necessary to have the retreat.
You have major changes in the environment, and of course that means that you need to change or review your plans to meet up with emerging trends, to deal with the challenges that have arisen, and of course to also take charge of opportunities that will arise, despite the fact that you are coming up with challenges. Challenges always bring opportunities as well. So the board of the bank approved for us to have this strategy retreat, which covers the board and the top senior management of the bank as well.
What we've been doing since yesterday is to actually, first reflect on the macro environment. As you know, there are several things that is happening around the globe. The Ukraine war, the fact that inflation rate is actually on the high side across the globe, even in Nigeria. So on the back of that, we have also food crisis and energy crisis. So that has implication for Nigeria and by extension the bank. So one of the things we've done since yesterday is to actually do a deep dive on the mega trend that is shaping the global environment and then the implication for the bank.
Board and management of the FMBN spoke on the retreat.
What we want to see is how we can deepen the mortgage market in Nigeria. What do we need to do to reposition the bank to be able to play the important role that the mandate of the bank demands. So it's a think tank that the bank needs to do to come up with how we need to improve, bring in new contributors to the scheme, see what else the bank can do differently to be able to deliver results.
It's very important for one to always take a stock of how you are moving based on the fact that for every individual, every corporate organization and every institution must have a target, goals that they have set for themselves, mandates upon which they are established or upon which one is living. And as such, it's always very important that from time to time you take a stop.
Organizing a retreat of this nature is very important to us. It's a 4-year blueprint we are trying to establish in this bank, which of course is going to take us to a very greater height with time. God willing, we are going to achieve all our aims.
With the issues discussed at the retreat, it is the hope of the FMBN to build on past efforts and lessons and move the mortgage sector ahead, especially in the face of current economic and social realities.
The board, management and staff of the Federal Mortgage Bank of Nigeria, FMBN, deeply commiserates with the family, relations and friends of late Professor Akin Mabogunje, who passed away on Thursday, 4th August 2022. During his time, late Professor Mabogunje served the bank meritoriously from 2002 to 2007 as the chairman, Presidential Technical Board (PTB), and under his tutelage, the bank was repositioned to play its strategic role as the foremost secondary mortgage institution in the country. No doubt, his absence will be felt greatly by the bank, housing industry stakeholders, and the country at large. While we deeply mourn the exit of this noble icon, we fervently pray that God in His infinite mercies will grant his soul eternal rest and accord the family the fortitude to bear this tragic loss. Signed, Management. Announcer, Management.
Thanks for staying with us. Yusuf Onao is a happy homeowner in Lafia, Nasarawa State. Even though he's yet to move into his house, he shares his joy with us and tells us how it feels being a homeowner. His story is what we'll share with you in our Dream Come True segment. Keep watching.
The payment process is quite flawless.
It was unbelievable because I didn't know that they have such a scheme existing in Nigeria.
Is it true that I will get the house? No, why not? You met all the requirements, so you'll get it.
The joy of ownership is wonderful.
Mr. Yusuf Onawo, a staff of the El Hatu Araf Specialist Hospital, Lafia, Nasarawa State, is a new homeowner. He was allocated a house at the El Hatu Araf Cooperative Housing Estate in Lafia. He was one of the members of the cooperative who encouraged his association to key into the National Housing Fund.
As a civil servant, of course, I'm a contributor to the National Housing Fund, and like you know, in this part of the world, we've been hearing about Federal Mortgage Bank building houses for other workers in other places, in other areas in Nigeria. So we have, as workers in my facility, we have a cooperative society. So we approach the cooperative society whether there's any window for us to benefit from this kind of very wonderful program. So the cooperative society, which is the El Hatu Araf Specialist Hospital Cooperative Society, indeed kickstart the processing. So they meet the state FMBN state office here, and through that process, indeed, they got back to us and they told us that, okay, it's something that we too can benefit from as contributors to the fund.
When the cooperative began developing, Mr. Yusuf was allocated a 3-bedroom detached bungalow, which he got at the cost of 7 million naira only.
This is one of the best quality you can get. Seeing the reality of cost of production, cost of commodities in the market today, and at the end of the day, you're able to get this kind of very wonderful project, I think it's an A.
Even though he hasn't moved in, Yusuf is excited about the thought of owning his own home. He tells us how he feels.
Knowing the behavior of landlords in this community, this is a dream come true. I am happy. For every tenant, you understand that being in your own house can never be the same as being in a rented house. This is my own, okay? And I can do anything I want. I can come in, nobody come to charge me, nobody come to tell you, why is this place like this, why is this place like that? At least that freedom enough is something. And not thinking that, okay, rent, at the end of every year, it's gone for good.
The repayment, he says, is a perfect arrangement for him.
I'm not going to give any chunk of money at a blue. They're going to spread the money based on my longevity, how long I'm going to stay in the service. And to me, I think it's comfortable. It's very, very comfortable for me to do that.
He has a word of encouragement to Nigerians who are yet to key into the scheme.
So my call to people out there, to civil servants like me, that wish to own a house before they go into retirement, before the end of their service, I am calling on every Nigerian to key into the Federal Mortgage Bank housing fund, so that at the end of the day, you smile like the way I'm doing now.
Our question for the week is, how can a low-income earner get collateral for a loan?
The low-income earner it doesn't need to bother himself about the collateral. These are all the good things about the National Housing Fund scheme. The house that you buy, the mortgage that you take to buy that house that you are now living in or that you have been created a mortgage on, is the one that is a collateral unto itself. Do you get the point? So it is a collateral unto itself. You will not be asked to pay another collateral. So that is why you make a down payment or make an equity payment. Once you do that, you now begin to pay for the house. The house does not become your own until you have finished paying. So the house is more or less like a property that you have given to the bank to hold it in trust, so that until I finish this payment, then you give me my paper back, you give me my house. That is how it is.
Thank you for staying with us through this edition of the program. I'll be back again next week with another exciting edition of the program. Don't forget to keep a date with me. Until then, kindly visit any of FMBN branch office near you for a guide to know how you can benefit from the scheme, or log on to our website on www.fmbn.gov.ng. If you're already a contributor, you can dial our USSD number on *219# to check the status of your contributions. Until I come your way again, it's bye for now.